but it already started, so I just gotta wait for people to get into the chat.
Okay.
All right.
People on that thread so that you know on my Facebook page we're asking for a link so they can join in too.
Okay. I'm gonna wait for some people to get in. All right.
Take your time.
All right. Yeah, because they had all all type of questions. They I guess one lady was so excited. She was like, "Yay, we get to see Vic tonight." I was saying to myself, "Sorry to disappoint you."
Yeah, she didn't know.
Yeah. I mean, cause they run that in a hole. You know, how Vic look. We want to see Vic. I'm like, man, okay, all podcasters don't get down like that.
Yeah, they do want to know that.
Yeah, they want to know that bad.
Yes, they do. I went to a doctor and found out that I've got pneumonia.
Hey, what's going
How's it
on?
going?
How you doing, Kai?
What's that?
No, somebody was posting in the group in the live stream, and hey, can you go post in the group and let them know we live now, Kai? Hey, Matt, go post in the group and let them know that we live with Vic Cundiff. Hello, everybody. How y'all doing this evening? Hey, hey, Louie. Can y'all go post in the groups and let them know that we're live with Vic Cundiff now, so we can get this show on the road? Thank y'all for posting, please. Thank you. It's gonna be a good show tonight. It's gonna be a good turnout too. Hey, Medium, can you go post in the groups and let them know that we are live with Vic Cundiff now, so we can start? It's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a good one. I promise you. Don't forget to hit that like button, y'all. As soon as y'all post and let them know we live, we can get this show started. And remember, we need all your questions in caps. All your questions in caps. You know, and welcome to Doug Mann Encounters with Marvin Allen and the Doug Pack. Like I said, we got a good one tonight. We're gonna try to cover a lot of things, you know. We ain't gonna just cover, Doug, man. We're gonna cover other cryptids too. We ain't gonna leave them out. We ain't gonna make them feel like they ain't want it too. Okay. All right, y'all. All right, y'all. Okay, I got you. I don't know what happened just now.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Cause the weather ain't bad here, but I know when it was bad, the reception was terrible. I mean real terrible. And don't forget, like I told y'all, when y'all post y'all questions, make sure that y'all post them in all caps. We're going to wait for a few more people to get in, and we're going to start. You know, they're going to just have to play catch up. Did y'all post in the group for me to let them know that we live now? Okay, Lou, it's no problem. I'm talking about for the rest of them. Did y'all post and let them know that we live now? And put y'all questions in all caps. I'm gonna get to everybody, but we're gonna start off with the questions that I have on the paper first. So that's what I'm gonna do. So don't post no questions in the chat yet. We're gonna go off of this paper I got first, and then y'all could post y'all questions to Vic. All right, wait a minute, cause I'm gonna get ready to start, and they're joining. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna get ready to start. I'm gonna get ready to start, but I'm gonna do these questions first. All right, it's good. It's been good, Louis. Y'all want to start now? Put up a 1 if y'all want to start now. Put up a 1 if y'all ready to start now. Let me know. Put up a 1 if y'all want me to start now. Hey, Nez. Put up a 1 if y'all want me to start now. All right, we can ready to start now. The other ones are just joining in. Do not send y'all questions yet until I read what's coming off the papers, the questions on the papers. All right. Welcome. Good evening. And welcome to True Doug Man Encounters. I'm your host, Marvin Allen. If you or anybody that you've known have had a sighting or encounter, then please contact me. I would love to hear from you. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. Like, comment, and subscribe. Okay, tonight's guest, oh man, what can I say about him? I can go on and on and on about this guy. He the first one that gave me my start when I first had my encounters. Went on his show, I don't know how many times, but I'm the most requested person that they want to bring back on there, and I'm on it. So this is part 3. This is the 3rd time that he's been with us. So without further ado, I want to bring on tonight's guest. So can you come on, introduce yourself, and let the people know, a little bit, your bio, basically. Vic. Vic,
Hey, Marvin, you cut out for a second.
hold up, my bad. I'm making sure you on the speaker part. All right, go ahead. Can you give a short bio about yourself?
Sure. Well, I used to co-host a Bigfoot-specific podcast called Campfire Data back in 2007 and 2008 with a now deceased gentleman named Shane McMahon. And back when I was doing that, I would interact with bear and coon Rambo and a lot of the outlaws on a regular basis. Well, they'd go out and go on outings and whatnot. Well, one time they came back in and talked about either seeing what they called a dog-faced booger or someone in their group saw a dog-faced booger. That's what they called it. Well, I knew about boogers, but I didn't know what they were talking about when they talked about this dog-faced booger. So I put some homework into it, some research, and found out that they were talking about a dog man. So when I heard they had seen a dog man or someone with them had seen one, I thought, well, what's this all about? So I put research into it. And, I thought to myself, wow, if you have a Sasquatch sighting, you can almost go to your nearest grocery store and get some help from somebody there. But if you have an encounter with one of these guys, where do you go? Who do you turn to for help? So I thought, you know what, there's a real need here to offer a service to people who have encounters with these things and need help dealing with them. So years later, I put all the pieces together into place and created Dogman Encounters. First, I created the website. About a year or so after that, I aired the first episode of the show. It's funny, when I was putting the pieces together for the show, this is something that pretty much no one knows. I actually contacted Linda Godfrey and asked her, I had an idea that just like, football, you have an announcer, and then you have a play-by-play guy or woman. Well, I thought, okay, well, she was well established in the whole Dogman community, so I thought, you know what? She could be the actual host of the show, and I could be kind of the play-by-play. Well, I contacted her, presented the idea to her. Well, she didn't want to do it, so I thanked her for her time, and I moved on. But, yeah, with Dogman Encounters, I had hoped that she would actually be the host, and I would be there as a play-by-play, like I said. But, anyway, the first episode of the show aired on August 15th of 2015. I'm sorry, August 22nd of 2015, and the rest has been history. We've been airing episodes every week, not mentioning any unforeseens where guests had to cancel or something like that. But, we've aired, 429 episodes now, so it's really gotten some legs and taken off.
Yeah, it absolutely have. For the most part, you've been consistent. With your channel. You have, you interviewed, I don't know how many people, and you have interviewed them all over, the world. There's something I always wanted to ask you, Vic. For the most part, when interviewing these eyewitness, what's what's the most of it? What's the most of it, or most thing about it that you enjoy the most?
Oh, that's easy. That's really easy. When I talk with an eyewitness who has had their lives turned upside down from having an encounter or encounters, plural, as it is sometimes with these eyewitnesses, when I talk with someone like that who's just so distraught and has had their life destroyed because of an encounter or encounters, and then after one conversation with them, everything is okay, and I know everything's going to be okay with them. They're laughing, they're happy, and they've got a whole new view on life. That right there, that makes me the richest man in the world. I can't get over that. I never get tired of that. I'm addicted to it.
Right. And I know sometimes you run into the ones that want to come on your show so bad, but it's a way that you can tell when a person is lying about encounter. Can you explain and elaborate on that for us?
Well, there's not always a way to tell if someone's lying, but under certain circumstances, you can. For example, if someone tells me that they saw a dog man way off in the distance, like 300 feet away, or further than that away, well, there's only so much you can do to vet that eyewitness. But if they're telling you that they were holding hands with it practically, then there are things that you can do to vet them to make sure that they're the real deal. It's funny, when episode 34 aired with Michael Lawrence, that's the episode where Michael came on and talked about how he was camping as a Boy Scout. Excuse me. I've got pneumonia. I'm trying to control the coughing fits.
That's okay. Take your time.
Yeah, he contacted me, sent a report to me, and told me in his report about how he went on that camping trip with his Boy Scout troop when he was a kid in the Anza Borrego Desert in California. And then he went on to tell me in the report how in the middle of the night, the first night that they were there, that this small dog man came into his tent and sat on his legs and licked his face. And
Wow.
when I read that in the report, I thought, okay, yeah, I've definitely got to vet this guy, because if that happened, he'll easily be able to answer the questions I'm going to ask him.
Right.
Well, when I called him up, I set the time for us to talk. I called him up, and I just basically had some small talk with him to kind of set the mood and everything, so he was ready to go. And then I started asking vetting questions. Well, right away, I asked him this vetting question that only someone who actually had been that close to a dog man would know the answer to, and instantly he fired back the right answer. So I threw another question at him, and he fired back the right answer about that. And I'm thinking, wow, this is the real deal here. This guy
Right.
actually had that experience. Ever since that episode, and also episode 35 was like a part 2 for that, but ever since those 2 episodes aired, it's funny because you've got all these experts who have left comments about how obviously Mike is lying and all of this, for these people who could tell you which way dogman fur grows on their arm versus on their legs, and how many hairs are on their head, and all this stuff, the quote-unquote experts, Well, they would say that he was lying and he's making it up. Well, no, he's the real deal. I made sure that he was a real deal. If it wouldn't have happened to him, if he was lying, then the questions I asked, he never would have been able to answer. So, yeah, I just do things like that. Like I said, in some cases you can truly vet them. In other cases you can't.
Right. And you absolutely right. But I just don't. Me myself, I don't see what a person, what they getting out of it, or what they trying to seek out. Do you want to be like the next person who really had a encounter and let people know that you had a fake encounter? And I mean, and at the end, it's just crazy though. It really is. It's really pointless. Okay,
Yeah.
Vic, I got a question. This question come from Mike, and he asks, do you think that the large number of unknown animal attacks around the country have something, no, around the country, do you think that's Doug Man related?
Well, we'll never know for sure. It could be dogman related, but when you've spoken with thousands upon thousands of dogman eyewitnesses the way I have ever since I spoke with the first eyewitness in 2007, and there's a repeating theme where time after time after time, these guys will have an eyewitness or eyewitnesses dead to rights, and they can do whatever they want to do to this eyewitness without anyone in the world ever knowing. And time after time after time, they let them go. Well, that's precedent right there. Over the years I've been doing this, after speaking with thousands upon thousands of eyewitnesses, the grand total of credible eyewitnesses who've ever told me about being attacked by the dog man or dog men they encountered is like 6 or 7. Well, if you pull thousands upon thousands of people who've interacted directly with horses, and then ask all of them, how many of you have been attacked by a horse you've interacted with? Well, that number would be in the hundreds.
Right.
If you swap out horses with camels, with pigs, with goats, with dogs, with cats, house cats, that number again would be in the hundreds. So the fact that you've got thousands upon thousands of dogman eyewitnesses I've spoken with directly, it's not hearsay, I spoke with them directly, credible eyewitnesses who will tell you only 6 or 7 of them have been attacked. That tells you right there that dogmen, they clearly show a remarkable amount of restraint when it comes to them interacting with people. Now, I'm not going to say that the people who were killed by a dogman they encountered couldn't come forward and report that. that attack. Well, of course they could. They've been killed by the dog man, but
Mm-hmm.
the numbers clearly show that it's not a pattern where if you encounter a dogman, odds are you are going to be attacked. Because if dogmen were wired to be that dangerous and that opportunistic about taking us out, if the opportunity presents itself, and this fact escapes a lot of people for some reason, if they were wired to be so dangerous and they were such opportunistic killers of humans, then I wouldn't have spoken with thousands upon thousands of people who have told me that they were caught dead to rights by this dog man, by that dog man, but
Right.
allowed to go without a scratch.
Right.
So the evidence clearly shows that these guys, by on average, they're not opportunistic killers of people. Because if that's the case, again, the numbers I've been exposed to, it wouldn't be that way.
Right. And you know what, you absolutely you absolutely right, Vic. That's just like um and I don't really want to go in it too much because I don't know if you want to elaborate on it or not. But you know, I was listening to the episode on your channel when a lot of people used to ask the guy, why do you want to go out and you know hunt these creatures and kill one just to prove that their existence? And you know, the guy that supposedly shot and killed one and all the pictures was gone out his phone when he went back to look for it. So I don't know if it's some type of I don't know something higher that removed those pictures in your phone because I don't see how they can just you know just up and disappear. Your thoughts on it?
Well, when it comes down to it, we run. Kumbo did a show recently, and he had secret clearance for years. And he's even gone on the record and stated that the technology that we as the general public are privy to that's out there, whether you're talking about laptops, cell phone technology, you name it, our technology, I think he said that it's about 20 years behind the technology that's actually available to our government. Well, if you think about our technology that we have now, well, he said that back in 2000, 2002, that technology was what the government had. But then if you think back then to 2000, that 2002 era, what the technology that we actually had as consumers was compared to what we have right now, I mean, it just pales in comparison. So just imagine the technology that the government has compared to what we actually have access to. They've got a program called, I think it's the T-Rex program, that can basically hack into any computer. So if it's a cell phone, if it's a laptop you've got, you name it, whether it's a T-Rex program or some other program or other means, they have full access to it. I've got no doubts about that.
Right.
How they actually knew that the guy in question, I'm not going to name him, but he was going out to actually hunt dogmen supposedly. I don't know how they would know that, but they have means to find out all sorts of things that we wouldn't understand. But yeah, I mean, they definitely have the technology. I've got no doubts that they have the technology to take anything off of your phone that they want to and monitor your phone for various things. Yeah, I think that would be really easy for them to do if they had the mind to do it.
Right, right. And I totally agree on that far as how far behind we is when it comes to this technology because it definitely ain't ours. It definitely ain't none of them go down and lay down one night and wake up and say, I'm gonna come out and invent this. I'm not buying that one.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, they're so far beyond what we could even imagine. I can
Right.
only guess at what they can do. I mean, people have talked about noticing really tiny mechanical like insects flying around, little drone type
You
mechanical
you
insects.
absolutely
Uh,
right. I heard
Notice
that.
them on the wall, things like that. Just, I mean, think about how easy it would be if you had a tiny mechanical fly that could film, that could record. If you had something like that, it could go anywhere. Anytime someone walked into a building, into a house that you wanted to monitor, you could just fly it right in over their shoulder. They probably wouldn't even give it a second thought. That's if they even saw it at all. And then just light it on the wall or just light it someplace up on the shelf, someplace high, and it could just film, it could record, it could do all those things, monitor you, and you'd never be the wiser. So, and that's just one aspect. That's one angle of how they can monitor things as
Right.
long as technology is there. And again, like I said, that technology, it's definitely there. So they can do pretty much almost anything, in my opinion.
You absolutely right. You are 100% right. I got another question for you, Vic, and it comes from David Filbert, and he wanted to know your take on some of this, some of it. And he said, "What do you think about the Doug Man picks and evidence overall? Do you think all are legit or
Oh,
just some?"
definitely not. No, there's a lot of bad fake dogman evidence out there. But talking about the whole dogman evidence thing, I've seen people comment that dogman can't be real because there is no good evidence. Well, that's ridiculous. The people that are saying that are just so myopic, they don't realize that because they haven't seen that really impressive evidence.
Right,
That's why they've come to that conclusion. If they haven't seen it, it must not exist. But
right.
that just is not the case. I've seen evidence that'll blow you away.
Oh, I already know.
Video footage, photographs that would just make you just blow you away.
And you know what, Vic? I already know, and we have talked about that. And that's what I be saying though. If people seen this thing, they wouldn't want to see it. They really wouldn't want to see it.
No, they wouldn't.
They just talking because they got lips. But I'm telling you, you really wouldn't want to see one of these things. And I be telling people that you just wouldn't. Okay. Another question, and this from Leah, and she said, "What states or continents have the most encounters?"
The continent with the most encounters, well, we by far and away have the best communication
I
there
was gonna
is
say us, yeah.
North America. So it shouldn't be any surprise that the most encounters seem to be reported over here. But as far as states go, yeah, Tennessee, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, those three, they still normally send the most reports to me. It's been that way for years, and it still seems to be that way. They come from all over. I mean, you name the state, and they come in from that particular area. But as far as the hottest areas, it's still, I'd say, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Pennsylvania.
And you know what? I would agree on that. I definitely would agree on that. And if you had to, I would throw in um, Virginia and maybe Pennsylvania.
Yeah, those are hot areas.
Yeah,
They
they
definitely are.
definitely they definitely are hot areas. Of these. Okay, let me go to this next question.
I should probably throw in before you ask
Go
this
ahead.
next question that there was an eyewitness from South Africa who had two encounters with dogmen there
What?
that I was hoping to get on the show, but it just didn't work out. But yeah, I mean, they even come in from there, come in from Africa. There have been people who
Wow.
said, well, yeah, dogmen can't exist in Africa because
Cause of what? Cause of all the predators?
that's what they said because of the predators, dogmen couldn't exist there, which that's just
They
ridiculous.
can hold their own.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Okay, I got the next one, and this say oh, this one. What's the? Oh, this one go from Leah too, and she want to know what's the scariest encounter you have ever heard since doing this.
Wow, the scariest one. I've heard some really bad ones over the years, but the really bad ones are the ones where the eyewitnesses are too distraught too distraught to come on the show and talk about them again.
Right.
Let's see. It's hard to point to one as being the most frightening, but there was one I was thinking about a few days ago, thinking about how when it comes to scary encounters, it's got to be up there amongst some of the most frightening. Which one was that? Oh man. The scariest encounter.
I thought you were gonna throw in the one when the guy was driving and it looked in his car.
Oh, that's a scary one, but
Yeah,
yeah,
that
compared to
is.
what I'm talking about, no, there are ones that are a lot more frightening than that.
Wow.
Like imagine being in your living room, you live alone, you're in the living room laid back in your recliner, and you're asleep, and then all of a sudden you wake up and you look up and there's one leaning over you, looking down at you, not facing the same way you are, facing your feet. You're laid back and it's facing your
Wow.
feet, looking down, looming over you
Wow.
like that. I mean, there's some that are just, yeah, they are just bad.
Wow. Yeah, that's definitely scary. That's definitely scary.
There was another one too that ranks up there where this poor guy, he was buying a house, and the house was out in a pretty remote location, and he was a handyman. He bought the house for a good price because it was definitely a fixer-upper. Well, he had done all kinds of work, hanging drywall and reflooring it and things like that. Well, he was almost done and was almost ready to move in. And he had a bunch of tools and various things in the closet for one of the back bedrooms. This back bedroom he had set up as a place where if he had to, or if he wanted to sleep there, then he would just crash in that back bedroom and then get up the next morning and get back to work on the house. Well, it was after dark. He was late getting there, and he was in that back bedroom for something, and he had the door. It wasn't totally closed. It was just shut enough where it was touching the door frame, if I remember right. Well, he
Right.
was in that back bedroom, and all of a sudden, you heard one of the floors slowly creak, like someone else was in the house with him.
Right.
Excuse me. And he heard that creak, the floor creak, and what he did, he was trying to evaluate if it was just him being too sensitive, his imagination was just getting the best of him. Was it the house settling? Well,
Uh-huh.
as he sat there and was listening, he was stone silent listening, when all of a sudden he heard the floor creak again, a little closer to him. So when he heard it creak again, he thought, okay, somebody's in the house with me. So he crept over to the closet, and he had a chainsaw that was in that closet amongst the other tools that he had.
Wow.
Well, he said that I don't know if he had been using that chainsaw earlier in the day. It was still warm, so that's why it fired up on the first pull. But he said he pulled the pull rope and it just fired up on the first pull, and the closet was next to the door of the bedroom. He said he threw the door open and went taking off out of the room with the chainsaw running at full throttle to get this person, but it actually turned out to be a juvenile dog man. He described it as a small dog man. I think it was 6 feet, 7 feet. But yeah, he said it had been creeping through the living room area or whatever that area was, back towards the bedroom where he was.
Mm-hmm.
And he chased it out of the house with that chainsaw. He never touched it or anything like that, but it took off running when he came at it with that chainsaw running full go. That's
Wow.
pretty scary right there.
Yes, hell yeah. Is it? Come on, man. That close to you too?
Yeah,
Wow.
trying to sneak up on you. That's pretty unnerving.
Okay. And I think this a good question too, Vic. And I went on to ask this and threw this in there because I want to see your thoughts on it now. What cryptid has the most reports? If
Which
you if,
cryptid
if
has
you
the most
have to, you can
reports?
pick. You know, if it's three of them, you can go in order. However you want to do it.
Wow, compared to Sasquatch, Mothman, other things? Or? Is that what she wants to know?
Yeah. Which ones? I mean, which ones if you had to put them in order?
Wow, if I had
The
to put them
the
in
the, the
order,
top three.
One, Sasquatch, and then Dogman, and then after Dogman, I would probably say, wow, after Dogman, maybe Rakes. I don't know. I'm not really sure what the third one will be.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
really don't get hardly
Cause
any Wendigo.
I don't hear too many. I hear rape encounters, but not a lot. Wendigo, I don't hear too many of those.
No. And
I
I
don't.
don't know if you could even consider skinwalkers to be cryptids because a cryptid is what it is 24/7, 365. So that's
Absolutely.
apples and oranges, in my opinion.
Skinwalkers and those other things, they claim that they, shapeshift. So yeah, I wouldn't put them in a category as a cryptid,
No,
like you said, because they 24/7.
that's right.
Okay, and okay, this one come from Jim. He wanted to know what should a person do if a Doug man is acting aggressive. Should you run or just stand still?
I'll tell you what, Marvin. Let me take a quick break, okay?
Okay. All right, y'all. He gonna take a quick break, and then he gonna come back. So we
Sorry
here.
about that. What should someone do if a dog man's acting aggressive?
Yeah. Should they run or just stand still and do nothing?
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't recommend running. I would treat it just like you encountered a scary bear that's acting aggressive. I would turn sideways so you can still monitor the dog man, and I wouldn't look at it directly, but I would keep my head turned where I can monitor where it's at and just slowly try to move out of the area. In most cases, even the ones that are acting aggressive like that aren't going to hurt you. They're just doing that to try and get a response out of you or to get you out of an area. But
Right.
yeah, running, there's no future in trying to run from a dog man. That's just not going to work.
At all.
No.
Okay. And Mike want to know this. Mike want to know: Are there a lot? Are there a lot of hot spots in Michigan?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of hot spots in Michigan. I was talking with somebody not too long ago in Michigan who was wondering if they had many dogman encounters there or related to that, if there were many dogmen there. I'm thinking, well, yeah, this guy hasn't put much research into dogmen at all, apparently, because, yeah, dogmen are all over Michigan.
Right. Okay. He also wanted to know: Have you seen or heard a correlation over the years between the number of seasonal sightings?
No, not at all. There's this idea out there that dogmen migrate because they have to get away from cold weather or get away from certain areas for this reason, for that reason. But
Right.
these guys are seen in all kinds of conditions. I mean, they've been seen in the worst
Right.
snowstorms when they're
That's what I'm
turning
saying.
sideways. I mean, that doesn't preclude the chance that you're going to have a dogman encounter. Not for a second. I mean, a lot of predators, they like to hunt. not to say that they're out hunting us, but they might be out hunting other game, like might be hunting game like deer, something like that. But when it's windy, when it's really nasty out like that, then the prey animals, they can't hear a predator creeping up on it.
Right.
That's when the best hunting is. That's why it's not a surprise that these guys are going to be out and about when there are conditions like that. So, yeah, I mean, they don't migrate out of the north when it's cold. They just stay where they're, in my opinion, they stay where their home range is. And just like talking about home ranges, just like any large predator, if they stay in one particular area for too long, they're going to deplete the resources in that area and make that whole area worthless to a predator like them. So it only makes sense that, like any other large predator, they're going to move around a large home range to prevent that from happening, so that when they move into this area, its resources are in place, ready to go, ready to support the dog man. When they stay for however long and then decide, okay, it's best to move on to another area, that area is going to do the same thing. So it only makes sense that they would do that. That's why bears and mountain lions, any large predator does
Right.
that.
Right. Okay. We're gonna go on to the next one. The next one, number 5, and they wanted to know about how many sightings. How many sightings do you receive in a year? I guess this would be like a rough guess.
In a year?
Yes.
Wow. Well, I'll put it to you this way: for a long time now, I don't bat an eye if I get 3, 4 brand new encounters coming in a day. And
Wow.
also, for a long time now, sometimes I'll have as many as 7 or 8 brand new dogman eyewitnesses who I've never heard from before ever in my life. I'll have 7 or 8 of them sometimes contact me in one day. In one day. So, yeah, I mean, I can only guess at how many eyewitnesses contact me in a year's time. A
Right.
lot. A lot.
Right.
People will pose the idea, well, yeah, I know that this old dogman encounters show is a lark because this guy, he airs a new episode every week. You mean to tell me that enough eyewitnesses contact him, a new eyewitness contacts him every week? Well, give me a break. A new eyewitness every week?
Oh
I
man.
mean, it's far from that. So many come in. That's how I'm able to do the show. It's just a never-ending thing.
Alrighty. Now the next question is what are the most common colors, or what are the top 3 most common colors of these creatures?
Well, definitely black, number one. It's
Definitely.
been my experience that black is number one most common. And then like a timber wolfish gray is number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Some kind of variation of brown seems
Right.
like number 3. I
Yeah.
could be wrong between the timber wolf grayish color,
Right.
like coyote color, and brownish being 2 and 3. It's kind of a toss up there, but
Right.
it seems to me that that's how it is.
Yeah, and you definitely hit it right on the nose too. And this come from Ben, and he said, "Why do you think that these creatures like or love scaring us?"
Well, if you think about it, dogmen don't have to spend very much time at all in an attempt to feed themselves on a daily basis. If you think mountain lions, they're known as being deer killing machines because of how good they are. Well, if you think mountain lions are talented when it comes to taking out deer, dogmen make mountain lions look like rank amateurs when it comes to dispatching deer. And if you think about how much meat's going to be on a doe or a buck that a dogman kills, if it's an adult especially, that's a lot of meat there. So, yeah, they don't have to spend much time at all out of their day feeding themselves for that reason. Maybe killing one deer, that might feed them for 2 days. I don't know what their daily caloric requirements are. I don't know how fast their metabolism is, but yeah, I mean,
And
it only makes sense that they have to expend very little energy and very little effort to feed themselves. So you're talking about, because of that, an apex predator with probably human level intelligence that's got all this spare time on its hands that it's got to kill, pun intended. Well, yeah, because of that, maybe because of that intelligence, and the more intelligent you are, the easier it is for you to become bored. Well, because of that intelligence they've got and all that spare time, maybe they just decide that trying to terrify humans is a fun pastime to pursue. I think that's probably got a lot to do with it. Some people say, okay, these guys are demonic in origin, which that might entirely be the case. And if that's the case, that would definitely explain why they do what they do. But if they are demonic in origin, then they need to drink nasty, stagnant water out of a moss covered pond? Why would they need to eat
right,
fetid roadkill? So,
right.
yeah, I mean, that's an argument right there that you can make a whole show out of. I don't know the answer to that one.
And you know that's fine. You know what I'm saying? And I want to go into something else. I want to ask you about this other cryptid and what you if you or what you heard about it. What do you think Goat Man is? Vic, Vic, hold on, y'all. Wait a minute. Wait a minute, y'all. Wait a minute. Hello. Yeah, yeah. I don't know how I lost you, but yeah. I'm asking you, Vic. What do you think Goat Man are?
Uh-oh, can you hear me?
What do you think Goat Men are?
I don't know if you can hear me, but I can't hear you.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute.
Okay, there you are.
All right. What do you think Goat Men are?
Goatmen, in most cases, goatmen are actually misidentified dogmen. Eyewitnesses see the ears of a dogman that they're encountering laid back, as they commonly are, and because of the lengths and them not being all that wide, normally they're not all that wide in relation to their length, it's easy to mistake them as being horns. They
Mm-hmm.
see the digitigrade style legs and think, okay, yeah, it's got to be a goat man. Horns, standing digitigrade, got to be a goat man. When in fact it was a dog man. Kubo, he recently went on an episode of Bigfoot Outlaw Radio. Well, not recently, it's been, I guess, a year or two, but he talked about this eyewitness that he spoke with who had an encounter, and they told him, they described it to him, and they told Kubo that they thought they saw horns on this cryptid's head. But later on, he put it together that it was actually a dogman they saw. It was a dogman's ears, again, that they mistook as being horns. So I think in most cases, goat man encounters are just cases of misidentification. But then again, you've got these eyewitnesses. You do have credible eyewitnesses out there who report seeing, clearly seeing cryptids that definitely have goat style heads. They definitely have horns. to see. So I think good men are out there, but yeah, in most cases, it's actually dog men.
Okay. Now, for everybody in the chat, y'all can start sending y'all questions in. And remember, please, can you send them in all caps? You can go slow. I'm going to try to get them. I'm going to get to all y'all. Put them in all caps. The questions that you like to ask.
You know, Marvin, I think one of the reasons why eyewitnesses have so much trouble coming to terms with these encounters they have with dog men is because ever since you learn how to speak, you've been conditioned. Once you, as a child, you have the ability to understand language. It's just hammered into your head that things in life are a certain way. And then one day, when you have an encounter and you find out that, okay, how life has been presented to you, how the world has been presented to you, isn't accurate, that's going to tend to turn your life upside down. It just turns your whole world upside down. So it's
Right.
only natural that people, when they have encounters with these guys, it's going to hit them so hard that they're going to have so much trouble dealing with them.
Right. You're absolutely right about that. So send y'all encounters in and please put them, send y'all questions in and put them in all caps. Okay. Um, all right, I got the first one right here. Lotus Drive would like to know, have there been any recent reports from Germantown, Ohio?
I spoke with an eyewitness not too not too long ago who he lived in that area. It might be like the town next to Germantown, but he spends a lot of time in Germantown and on the outskirts hunting and things like that. Yeah, he had an encounter. I can't remember how long it's been since I spoke with him, but it hasn't been that long. So, yeah, I have had one not that long ago.
Okay. All right. All right. Somebody wanted to know, Carlito, and he wanted to know, have you ever ran into a cryptid? Now, if you want, you can share what you said you didn't, didn't share about could be or might have been.
Well, there was one time years and years ago when I'm convinced I had a Sasquatch literally just feet behind me. And then there was another time, not all that long ago, where I just might have seen a Sasquatch, but unless I know for sure that that's what I definitely saw, I can't call it a definitive Sasquatch sighting. But let's first things first. Let's talk about the one where I'm convinced I had a Sasquatch just feet behind me. Do you want the short condensed story, or do you want the
No,
fleshed out story?
I want you to you tell us about it.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, this was a long time ago, but yeah, there was a man and his wife who lived two doors down from me a long time ago. And this man, even back then, he was in the 70s already. He was a woodsman in every sense of the word. I mean, he had spent a lifetime out there in the woods, going places, doing things. I mean, what this guy didn't know about the outdoors, about the woods, about the mountains. I mean, I don't even, I can't even venture a guess on what he didn't know. Well, because of that, I've always loved the outdoors and animals and all that. Because of that, I was drawn to him like a moth to a flame. I used to go down there and sit on that man's couch, asking him to tell me story after story about this hunt he went on, this adventure he had in the Rocky Mountains, and all these different places. I used to sit on that man's couch and just beg him to tell me this story and that story to the point where he pull out the newspaper eventually and start reading the newspaper. Well, that should have told me that I wore out my welcome. But yeah, I mean, I just would absorb all these stories from him. And one day, even, he told me about the time when he was attacked by a black bear. And I'm thinking, okay, yeah, I believe all these things you've been telling me, but come on now. A black bear attacked you? And he said, yeah, it actually did. He was hunting in Upper Peninsula, Michigan one time in this area that was really tightly packed with cedar trees or white pine trees. And he said he got the impression he was being followed. Well, the only way he could see any distance, he said, was to crouch down on his knees and look down underneath the canopy of all these trees. Well, he did that eventually to see if he was being followed. But when he did that, he saw that there was a black bear about 30 feet, 40 feet away from him. I think he said it was about that distance. That was crouched down doing the same thing, looking right at him. And when he did that and they locked eyes, it charged him. And then he proceeded to pull up his pant leg and show me his calf. I could see the tooth marks that were still in his calf from the wound of this black bear actually attacking him. I'm thinking, wow, this guy is the real deal. Well, he knew about my interest, my obvious interest in the outdoors and everything, and he told me, he said, you know what, I know you don't have a deer hunting license, but if you go through the hunter safety course and get your license, I'll take you to my farm. He had a farm that was like an hour or so away from where we lived, way out in the middle of nowhere, in the hills and hollows. He said, if you get your deer hunting license, I'll take you with me on opening day to deer hunt. I'll show you the ropes, everything you need to know. So I said, okay, I'll do that. So I took the hunter safety course, passed it, got my license, and everything was set up. The evening before opening day, he drove me down to his farm, way out in the middle of nowhere. And we got settled in. He told me the next morning we were going to get up about an hour and a half before dawn, have breakfast, and basically head out about 45 minutes before dawn. He was going to take me to this place where he was going to stake me out, and that's where I was going to spend the day hunting. Well, yeah, the next morning came, we got up, we had breakfast, and then about roughly 45 minutes before dawn, like he said, we set out. Well, we walked for probably 20 minutes, 25 minutes away from his house/cabin. Well, I left something out. When we got there, he knew that I loved horses. And when we came pulling up to the cabin, I saw 2 horses in the pasture that was right there, right next to the cabin. And I said, oh man, wow, you got horses here. He said, yeah, I do, and I'm going to give you a warning. He said, that horse over there, I forgot the horse's name, that horse is fine to be around, but this one here closest to us, his name is Red, and he'll hurt you. So stay away from him. Stay out of the pasture. I said, okay, don't need to tell me twice. Well, anyway, we walked about 20, 25 minutes through the dark into the woods, up this hill, down into this hollow, back up the other side. We walked for like 20, 25 minutes until finally we walked down about halfway down to this big hollow. He said, okay, this is going to be where you hunt. This is going to be your spot. I'll be a couple of ridges over, and you just stay here until I can come back and get you. I'm going to get you probably half an hour or so before sundown, and then we'll head in. So I thought, okay, yeah, I'll do that. So I just went and put my back up against this huge oak tree. That's where he told me to stay. And I stayed there, remembering everything he taught me about what you do, what you don't do. Nothing happened until I think it was like maybe 1 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that. Well, I'm sitting there just looking around, looking for any kind of sign. When all of a sudden, I would say probably 20 feet behind me, maybe 30 feet. And if it wasn't 30 feet, it was correct. All of a sudden, I hear this loud horse whinny. And then after the whinny, you know the sound a horse makes when it clears its nostrils? It's got that impact to it that as a human, our lungs just aren't close to being big enough to get concussion. That sound of force that a horse can do when it's clearing its nostrils out. Well, I heard that whinny, that loud whinny, and then that impactful like snort that, like I said, a horse makes to kind of cleared its nostrils out. Well, when I heard that sound, I'm thinking, oh, is that red? Is that red right behind me? So I leaned over to my right at first to try and crane my neck and look around this big oak tree's trunk. Well, I did that. I didn't see anything. So then I kind of straightened up and I craned over to look around the tree the other way, thinking, okay, well, I didn't see him this way, so I've got to see him this way. Didn't see him, I leaned in the other way. There wasn't anything there. Well, the whole problem is, and I didn't think about this until later on, this hollow that I was in, I was about halfway down the bank of the hollow with my back up against that tree. Well, there was leaf litter all over the place. Number one, the bank, the slope of that hollow was definitely too steep for any horse to navigate. So yeah, if it would have been able to navigate the steepness of the slope, I still would have heard that horse coming from a long way off with all the leaf litter. I didn't hear anything back there behind me. So it couldn't have been a horse. I put that together after the fact. It couldn't have been a horse. Well, if it couldn't have been a horse, then what could it have been? I can't honestly think of what it could have been. Short of a Sasquatch that was just having fun with me. And apparently a big one. I can't really do any justice to the sound it made after it did the whinny. Well, number one, just the volume of the whinny. That was just so loud. And then that whatever sound, however you want to describe it, there's just no way a person could have been doing that to prank me. Because like I said again, no human lungs could have ever come close to to reproduce that kind of a bassy, impactful, concussive sound. So yeah, that's that time. I'm convinced I had a Sasquatch just beat behind me. At some point, it was probably hugging that tree trunk. I was on one side of the tree, I'll bet you, and it was hugging the other side of the tree trunk. Who knows? Maybe it was reaching out for my hat or something like that to tap it just to mess with me. Who knows what it was trying to do? But yeah, I think that must have been a Sasquatch encounter where I never actually saw it. And then the other time recently, when I definitely saw either a man in all black or I saw a Sasquatch, I was out walking my dog. I was way out walking her, and I would say probably a quarter of a mile to maybe 3/8 of a mile way up ahead, there was a green field between me and this bridge that I had crossed with her on this long walk. I was walking back. I was on the way back at this point, and this green field it had grown up to about maybe 4 feet in height, maybe 5 feet. Well, I'm a big guy, so I was able to see over that. Well, the bridge is kind of elevated relative to the land around it, including the green field. Well, as I'm walking, I'm looking up, look this direction, look that direction. Well, suddenly I see this black figure come running, jogging slash running up over that bridge to the side that I was on. And when it was running, its running style was kind of strange. It was kind of plucking it was plucking his or her feet off the ground in kind of a strange way. Kind of like kicking itself in the butt type function when it was plucking its feet off the ground. Now, it could have definitely been a person. It could have been a guy or maybe a big woman in all black. I don't know. But, and again, I wasn't close enough to definitely see features to tell me it definitely was a Sasquatch, but it veered off to its right, my left, and as I'm walking faster now, trying to get closer to try and make out more details, when it comes back into view, I didn't see anything after that. It just basically, it didn't dematerialize and disappear. It just was lost from sight after it came up and over the bridge and then went back behind some trees. After that, I just didn't see it again. So that might have been a Sasquatch sighting. It might have been, I don't know.
Right.
I can't say that I know for sure that it was a Sasquatch sighting because, yeah, to do that, that would be a lie. All I can do is just tell you what I experienced.
Absolutely, and I like the way you broke that down because you didn't not one time say that was a Doug, man, that was a Bigfoot. I seen it. See, you didn't say that. You know, you gave it to you gave it to the listeners the same way you went through it and saw it, and that's what I like. All right, wait a minute, cause I just seen the next question. Next question is, and it comes from Louis, and she wanted to ask, what's the best ever photo you have ever seen? Can you explain it to us?
Would she like to know what the best photo
The
is? Because
yep,
I've
the
had
best photo
others
of
where
these
the best
cryptids that you
video.
ever seen.
But because the best evidence, period, I've ever been privy to, without a doubt, was video footage that was sent to me about 7 years ago, 6, 7 years ago, where a guy, he lived out in the foothills, I guess it was, of the Sierra Nevada mountains. And either he or a friend of his somehow found out that there was a dog man or dog men that were frequenting this area. Well, either he or a friend of his strapped a game cam to a tree trunk in this area, and then he hung some bait on a limb, on a branch, about 5 feet away from that lens, in full view of the camera lens. Well, in broad daylight on a sunny afternoon, you can clearly see this dog man come into view between the camera lens and that bait. As it was walking, its right shoulder was facing the camera lens, and it was moving from left to right into view. Well, yeah, like I said, he was between the camera lens and that bait, so he was easily well within 5 feet from the camera lens, more like 3 feet of the lens or so, I would guess. Well, yeah, I got to see it from the front there as it started coming into view, and then after it moved further from left to right, it turned to go for the bait on that branch. So I got to see it from the back. And yeah, I could see it clearly enough to easily pick out individual fur, individual hairs on it. It was like it was kind of like a timber wolfish gray. It had like these accents on, not all of the tips of its fur had like brownish coyote, brownish like accents on them, but some of the hairs had like a brownish accents on the tips and everything of it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it wasn't just me who saw that. Just to get a second opinion, so that okay, I'm not getting ahead of myself with this footage, because if it's too good to be true, in a lot of cases it is, I wanted to get a second opinion. Well, I don't know if anyone remembers, I think it was episode 6 of Dogman Encounters, when I had Richard Eady. The man's name is Richard Eady. He actually evaluates photos and other evidence that people take of Sasquatch, and some people send, I believe they send him photos of dogmen that they've taken just to get his opinion on, because he's good at evaluating evidence like that. I sent him a link, and this was a private link. It was a private YouTube video that you had to have the link to be able to view it. I asked the person who sent me the video, would you mind if I got a second opinion on this film footage that you sent me from a gentleman who does this? He evaluates evidence like this. He said, sure, no problem. He knew I wasn't going to broadcast it to the public. I didn't have his permission to do that. If I didn't have his permission to do it, I wasn't going to do it. So he said, sure, go ahead. So I sent that link to Richard Eady for him to look at it. And he was blown away by it. He was of the same mindset that I was. This is the real deal here. This was not faked. That's a real dog man. So yeah, by far and away, I've had some, like I said, I've had some amazing photos come to me. I'm talking about broad daylight, just like you look out the window,
Uh-huh.
there's the dog in the backyard. Right there is the dog in the wide open. Yeah, that caliber type photos was sent to me, which are
Wow.
really impressive, but still, they don't hold a candle to actually film footage like that. That that was sent to me about 7-ish, maybe 6 years ago. So that's by far and away the best evidence I've ever received.
Wow. That's just amazing. You know, that's amazing. Wait a minute, y'all. Don't forget, put them in all caps, y'all. Questions that y'all wanna ask Vic.
Hey, Marvin, I'm going to put you on mute for a second.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Just let me know when you're ready.
Okay, I'm all set.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Wait a minute. I'm going back to this question in here. Well, I'm gonna ask some few questions myself, Vic. When it um when it comes, to these, I guess these other cryptids, do you think, like, they let me see. Now, I don't want to say migrate, but do you think they, like, have a certain amount of territory that they run, like a certain amount of acres, which is that's theirs, and Bigfoot might have it over there, Goatman might have it over there, and Reek and such like that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, that's back to the whole home range thing I was talking about, where I think they have a certain territory they stake out with a bunch of small areas within it that they just inhabit for a period of time until they move on to the next area inside that big home range. I think any large cryptid like we're talking about is going to do that. Now, Sasquatch, they're omnivorous; they don't just eat meat, so it's not so important for them to do that. But still, if they do hang out in one particular area too long, especially if you consider the fact that they live in numbers normally, there are numbers of them living together, it still is going to be important for them to move on after being in a certain area for a certain period of time, because even they will deplete the resources in that area. Even though they don't have to just eat meat, they can eat vegetables and
Right,
vegetation and things like that. So yeah, I think all of them.
right, yeah, and yeah, because I've been that been pondering on my mind, for a while. You know what I mean? Do they, basically, have a certain amount of turf that they run through, and that's just been bugging me because that's something something I wanted to know. Another thing, do you think that let me see, um, do you think that because somebody said this too, and I know it's probably true or whatever, but do you think that Bigfoot and Doug Man kill each other's young?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if dogmen predate juvenile Sasquatch. I mean, there have been cases where people have reported seeing dogman prints apparently following or side by side juvenile Sasquatch prints. So I think in cases like that, the two weren't hanging out as buddies. I think the dogman was tracking the juvenile Sasquatch. But these guys normally, Sasquatch normally, they hang out in numbers. So I don't think the Sasquatch would make a habit out of letting juveniles get too far from
Mm-hmm.
mature members of the other Sasquatch. So maybe a dog man almost never would have an easy opportunity to pick off a juvenile Sasquatch. I don't know. As far as Sasquatch predating on juvenile dog men, I don't think that's going to happen all that often when you consider all the other food that they've got access to. And then you consider the possible injuries they might incur from trying to pick off a juvenile dog man. As their mom or maybe even dad will probably be fairly close to that juvenile, just like the juvenile Sasquatch are normally going to have mature specimens probably not too far from them as well. So I guess it happens, but I don't think it would probably happen all that often.
Right. Yeah. And I can I totally I totally agree with that. Another thing I wanted to get into was if you was the because it is a guessing thing, if you was to guess or say how many pups do you think they have in a litter?
Wow. I think probably like humans, they only have like one or two, more than likely. Understand when it comes to mammals, you can normally get a pretty good idea on how many offspring a mammalian female has by counting their nipples, their
Right,
mammary glands.
right,
Well, humans normally have one baby. As it goes, normally mammalian females going to have, or mammals, period, are going to have twice as many mammary glands as they have offspring. Humans normally have one baby. Dogs have varying numbers of mammary glands, but normally they will too have half as many offspring as they have mammary glands. So when you consider most people, when they see female dog men, because the male dog men, it's almost impossible to notice their nipples on them. But as far as mammary glands that are reported on female dog men, it's almost always the case of them seeing two, of eyewitnesses reporting seeing two mammary glands on female dog men, on dog women. So that would just make
oh,
me think that, okay, well,
right,
knowing that
um,
rule on how things normally are, it would only make sense that normally dog men will only have one offspring. Now, I
right,
could be totally wrong on that. I'm just going by the way things normally work to come
mm-hmm,
to that conclusion. But that's
right,
why I've come to that conclusion that they would normally only have one.
right. Now, you got a question right here coming from North Carolina Cryptid and Paranormal Project, and it's coming from my good friend and pack member Tom. He want to know, do you have a answer to what state recently had the highest encounters based on eyewitnesses?
Eyewitnesses who have contacted me,
Yeah, period.
because unless I had access to all the eyewitnesses, period, there's no way I could answer that question. All I would have access to, as far as information on the numbers would go, would be people, eyewitnesses who have contacted me. As far as that would go, I would think it'll probably be,
What would you
Tennessee or
say?
Kentucky. Probably Kentucky.
Okay, he say probably Kentucky, Tom.
Yeah, I understand. I don't put effort. People will ask me, they'll contact me sometimes, send me messages asking questions about dogmen that really a dogman researcher would be in a better position to answer. I mean, I've got my hands full trying to help all the eyewitnesses who contact me and do all the other things like that I do. I don't, in the time I'm not devoting to that, go out and check into this and check into that about dogmen because I think it would be neat. Yeah, there's no novelty in dogmen for me. When you talk with eyewitnesses who have eyewitness after eyewitness who's really been taken aback by their encounters with dogmen, it's just impossible to look at this little dogman thing as a novelty. So that's why I don't know. I'd be the last person to know as far as eyewitnesses who haven't contacted me from whatever state, numbers like that. I just wouldn't know.
Okay, I got you I got you on that Vic, and I wanted to ask you this. What do you think the what is it called again? That flying thing when the accident happened in Virginia.
Mothman.
Mothman. What do you think about that? And I'm gonna tell you in the listeners what a guy told me. But what do you think it is?
Well, it sounds to me like a demonic entity when you think about everything that's been said about them. But yeah, I mean, full disclosure, I really don't know much at all about them. I don't know nearly enough about them to come to any clear conclusions about what they're all about, what they are. All I can do is guess on that.
Okay. I talked to this talk I hear eyewitness here and do a lot of paranormal, cryptid stuff, and he said that we was talking about Mothman one day, and he said that that's he said that's a being inside some type of suit, that could, that could actually fly. And he was saying that they had took him to somewhere where he saw hundreds of these suits. Now, I'm just telling y'all what he told me.
Yeah, that may be so. There are a lot of people who will come forward and tell you that they know as a fact that this is the case when it comes to Dogman or Sasquatch or whatever cryptid because their dad's a government operative who was the head of the secret Dogman project and all this. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I don't know. So
Right,
I don't know what to say or think about that.
right. But let me ask you another thing. Say you say you got a family member in the military. They got the highest clearance that they can get or whatever. Do you think they'll have, you know, the capability, the pull to actually give a person one of these Dugman cryptids as a pup?
Do I think that they would have the ability
Or
to do
would they
that?
had a clearance to actually give you one of these creatures to try to raise?
Absolutely not. Because the government, I mean, the government has made it totally clear that they'll go to any lengths to keep their existence under wraps. Well, if the government has dogmen, which they do, if they have dogmen in a facility, which they have in facilities, multiple facilities, I'm sure of that also. If they have dogmen in facilities, you know those dogmen are going to keep under such tight wraps that there's no way that it would be possible to sneak a juvenile doggy out of that facility without the government knowing that it was happening. There's just no way, absolutely no way. So for that to happen, the government would have to willingly allow that to happen, which they're never going to allow that to willingly happen. So yeah, I think that's easy to answer. That's never going to be the case. Totally impossible. Because if the government did allow that to happen, allow a juvenile dogman, a baby, a dogman pup to be snuck out of the lab, well, getting an adult dogman to do something against his will is one thing, but getting for the layman to be able to get a dogman pup, to do something against his will, I'm sure that wouldn't be easy, but it's going to be a lot easier to do that than to do that to a full-grown dog man or one that's close to full-grown. So if this person got a mind to just take this dog man pup down to their friend who's the producer at the local TV station because they think they're going to get rich by airing it on the evening news. Hey, look what I brought. Here's this juvenile dog that's locked up in my van. Let's take the film crew out to my van, my cargo van, open up the back door, and there it is, caught on tape. Well, if they have a mindset to do something crazy like that, to try and get rich, then, you know, what's to stop them? The government's not going to take a chance on something like that happening. So, yeah, there's no way that's ever going to happen.
Right. And I was thinking the same thing, because that's the first thing a person will want to do. They will want to take pictures, of it standing up, walking, grabbing things with his hands and stuff like that. But I was saying to myself, man, I don't think I don't think that would ever happen, period.
Oh, no, no, it's not. No, the government has put a lot of effort into poo-pooing the existence of Sasquatch, a little bit of effort into poo-pooing the whole dogman phenomenon, but the general public is so resistant to believe that anything like a dogman could be in existence that the government knows they don't have really much work at all to do to make sure that the general public is never going to believe as a whole. They're not going to believe for a second that anything like dogman could be out there. But I mean, just the way when you look at how human psyche is, when you look at how the human psyche is, it's really easy to get them to laugh at the possible existence of something like Sasquatch. That's why you've got all these periodicals out there on the newsstand. You know, you're checking out at the grocery store, you look and you see Bigfoot stole my baby and all these crazy stories on the periodicals. The government, I think they started that just to get the general public to just nudge them in the direction so that this whole Bigfoot thing is a joke. So anyone who tries to come out, who tries to come forward and report experiences they've had with Sasquatch, they're being crazy, you name it. It's just not going to be believed because humans, it's really easy because of our makeup, our psychological makeup. It's really easy to to put the pieces in place where that's going to happen. I mean, it's easy to make us think that okay, yeah, that's silly. That can't be the case. So I'm not going to believe it. I'll joke about it, but I'm not going to believe for a second that that could be a reality when it actually is reality. Look at campfire smoke. That's a perfect example right there of how, with our psyche, the way we're wired, how we could take something like campfire smoke and we can have a certain idea about it that being reality. Haha, isn't that funny? Because you know it's not the truth, but it actually is. What I'm getting at here is, you know, the whole notion about how campfire smoke follows you around the fire. It seems like it's following you around the fire when you're sitting around the fire talking. Well, that's because it actually does follow you around the fire. It's a
Right.
fact. It can be proven. It's a fact that can be proven. What does fire do to the air around it? It heats the air. What does hot air do? It rises. As it rises, makeup air has to fill the void, the vacuum that's created by that hot air leaving the area around the fire. So makeup air moves towards that fire from every direction. That means that makeup air is moving towards that fire, filling that vacuum from every direction relative to the fire, except for the direction that you're sitting in the fire. Well, if that's the case, then that means that the only place relative to the fire where there's actually a slight vacuum is between you and that campfire. If there's a vacuum between you and that campfire, even though it's a slight one, guess which direction that smoke is going to move? Yeah, it's going to move right towards you. So, yeah, people laugh at that whole notion about, yeah, the campfire smoke is chasing you around the fire. Well, what I just explained, that's why it actually is. These cryptids, same thing. People laugh and joke. They read these periodicals, they see the periodicals at the grocery store. This whole idea that Sasquatch is out there, it's made fun of, it's made light of. Well, they can make fun of it all they want, they can make light of it, but it's true. Just like the campfire smoke, it's true, whether the general public thinks it's a joke or not.
Wow.
We're just wired to accept things like that as being a joke when actually it's reality.
Wow, that's crazy. All right, I got another one for you, and it say wait a minute, let me get to it, cause you man. Oh, somebody wanted to know have any Doug man witnessed witness seen glowing orbs around them or before they appear?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it hasn't been all that commonly reported to me where eyewitnesses will tell me about seeing orbs before or after an encounter with the dog man, but it does happen. So I don't know what's behind that, but it does get reported sometimes.
The orbs always seem to pop up though for some reason.
Yeah.
So they definitely play some type of part. All right, the next one. Oh, this is what I wanted to ask. Let me ask you this: if you would have to guess or whatever, you know what I mean, when it comes to these animals and sleeping, where do you think is the most likely is place that they will sleep?
Well, that's a really difficult question to answer because it would just depend on their environment. Is it a mountainous area with a lot of tree cover, areas that people don't go into very often? Is it a flat area, sparse tree cover? Uh, but still a lot of caves. Yeah, it just really depends on the area. I think they're just opportunistic. If they come across an area that looks like a good, promising place for them to sleep, then they'll take advantage of it. They do apparently, they don't hesitate to sleep in places that humans clearly have no desire to normally go into, such as briar patches and areas like that are totally inhospitable to us. So if they can come across that where they're not likely to be bothered, then I don't think they'll hesitate for a second to take advantage of it. But yeah, I can't really answer that question because I mean it all depends on the environment the dog
Yeah,
is in.
you absolutely right. Like you said, it because it could be mountain areas, it could be a forest area. So I agree. It depends. It definitely depends. Definitely depends on the environment. Do you think most of these creatures have tails or not?
Well, most of them seem to have tails. Most eyewitnesses who have a view of the dog man that would afford them the opportunity to discern if they have a tail or not. Most of them do report seeing tails, but there have been credible eyewitnesses who have reported seeing dog men without tails. Now, you'll have people who will tell you, okay, well, yeah, if they don't have tails, then they're clearly werewolves. If they have tails, they're definitely dog men. Well, maybe their parent works in a secret department of the government where they have dogmen and werewolves in cages and all. So they're experts on that. That's if there is such a thing as werewolves, of course. But I can't answer that question as far as what it means when a dogman or whatever it is does have a tail or doesn't.
Right.
All I can do is tell you that most eyewitnesses I've spoken with have told me if they did have a view of the dogman that would let them see if it did or didn't have a tail, that dogman did have a tail in those cases.
Okay, I got you on that. Again, Vic, can you explain to everybody what's the difference between them?
What's the difference between
Like,
a
what's the
dogman and
difference
a
between
werewolf?
the Doug man, the werewolf, Gugwy? Difference about the claws and something there. How you always do.
Well, as far as werewolves go, we don't even know that they exist.
Right, 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 right. You're
Uh,
absolutely right.
a werewolf would be a human who somehow has the ability to transform into the state of a beast. A beast that looks like a werewolf or a dog man because they look the same. But again, I don't even know that werewolves are a reality or not. As far as canine type, what I call canine type dog men, the ones that have digitigrade style rear legs, they have hocks instead of ankles, they have stifle joints instead of knees. That is what I call a canine type dog man. What people call good way, I call type 3 dog men. They have hominid style legs like we do, like Sasquatch do. So they do have ankles, do have knees. They do have claws, though, on the tips of their toes and on the tips of their fingers, which precludes the chance of them being a primate. But yeah, I mean, what they are, what a type 3 is, what a Gugwe is, what it's not, I can tell you that they're not canids because if they were canids, then they would have hocks instead of ankles. They would have stifle joints instead of knees. So they're clearly not canids. They're clearly not primates. But what they are, I can tell you what they're not. The
Right.
problem is I cannot tell you definitively what they are. I don't know.
All right. Thank you. For definitely explaining that part. That part. that part to us. Another another question. Um, why? And I know I'm just gonna throw it out there though, but why don't you see, or why don't eyewitness see, you know, smaller ones as seeing the adults and, you know, juveniles?
Why aren't juveniles?
No, why don't people, too many eyewitness see, you know, the smaller ones, the babies? You know, they mostly see the adults, juveniles, and stuff like that.
Well, if a dog man is seen by a human, in almost every case, it's because that dog man wanted to be seen. The dog man sought out the contact. Normally, it's not because of happenstance. Well, if you look at it, a juvenile dog man, a pup, isn't going to have any desire to seek out contact with the human, to force an encounter to happen. The way a dog man that knows full well it can defend itself and it can seek out an interaction with the human without any harm coming to it from doing that. So I think it just boils down to motivation. The bigger ones have a desire sometimes to force an encounter to happen. The babies, the dog meat pups, never seem to have any desire, and for good reason, to seek out interactions with us. So it would make sense that you would see the bigger ones, but you would not see with any regularity juvenile, small dog meat pups. It happens, but not very often.
Right. Got you. I got you on that one. Let me see. Oh, oh. Do you know anything about the Jersey Devil?
Not really. I've watched documentaries on the Jersey Devil, but yeah, I don't even know if the Jersey Devil is a reality. Yeah, but all I could do is guess.
Yeah, because I was trying to wonder what that thing was. They saying it looked like 3 and 4 different kind of animals. That's that's crazy.
No doubt.
That is real crazy. Wait a minute, right here. Vic, when it comes to these, you know, cryptids, Bigfoot, Doug, man, do you believe in what a lot of these, you know, I guess they want to be the chiefs. A lot of them always want to say that the variants, far as you got a type 1, you got a type 8, you got type 9. I mean, what do you think when it comes to that, or do you just think it's just different varieties, like we have of us, like humans, or different dog types, or different cat types? What do you believe?
Well, I mean, even bears and other animals, you're going to have variations in their appearance. I mean, you do have different species. Bears, for example, grizzlies, polar bears, black bears, sun bears. I mean, you've got a bunch of different species of bears, and that's just bears. Why wouldn't it, why wouldn't dogmen be the same way? They do have amongst canine types, amongst type threes, there are definitely variations of specimens in those two main categories. So, I mean, why wouldn't they be the same way? You've got variations of elephants. You've got Asian elephants. You've got African elephants. You've got Sumatran rhinos, white rhinos, black rhinos. That's just how it is in nature. So, if that's how it is in nature, why should dogmen be any different? Sasquatch is the same way with it, and you've got variations in their appearance, just like everything else. So that's what I would expect.
Okay, I got you. Um, Let me see. Another question I want to ask about Okay, Bigfoot. When it comes to height, far as we're gonna say Bigfoot first. When it comes to height, what's the tallest you ever heard of a Bigfoot getting?
The tallest I've heard was there was a man and his wife. They're well-known Bigfoot researchers. I apologize for forgetting their names, but they came on Bigfoot Eyewitness Radio years ago and talked about seeing. They were adamant that they saw an 18-foot Sasquatch. That's definitely the tallest Sasquatch I've heard about from any eyewitness who I've spoken with. There was a man who came on my Bigfoot sighting, my new Bigfoot show that's called My Bigfoot Sighting.
Mm-hmm.
He came on a few months ago and talked about a 15-footer that threw a big log at the tree he was sitting in when he was deer hunting. He swears up and down that this one, which walked underneath the stand, had to be every bit of 15 feet tall. Those two are definitely the
Wow.
tallest specimens I've ever spoken with an eyewitness about. Now, as far as dogmen,
That thing
I've spoken with other
humongous.
who have told me about seeing 12-footers before. And we had a guy on just 2 weeks ago who talked about seeing an 11-footer who walked up right underneath the stand and was sniffing his leg. So, yeah, dogmen think that, okay, well, a lot of people come to and that because most of the ones you hear eyewitnesses talk about, they say they're 7 feet tall, maybe 8 feet tall. They think that's how big they can get. When in fact, no, there are plenty of credible eyewitnesses who have told me about seeing 11 footers, 12 footers. Now, that's definitely not the norm. Most of them don't even come close to that height when people report seeing them, but there have been plenty of eyewitnesses who have been doing this who have told me about seeing the 11 footers, 12 footers.
Wow. That's that's crazy because definitely know that some of these creatures do get they do get kind of big. They absolutely do.
Oh, yeah.
They definitely get kind of big. They definitely do that. Another thing. Do you this one right here? Do you think that aliens have something to do with these cryptids?
They might. They might. I mean, if you do this for any period of time, it's only natural that you're going to bounce back and forth from being convinced at one moment that they're just flesh and blood creatures out there making a living, doing what they do, and then the next moment you're convinced they must be aliens who are visiting here or just now living here, and then the next moment after that, whatever period of time that goes by, you're convinced that they have to be demonic entities because you speak with so many eyewitnesses, credible eyewitnesses, who tell you things that just soundly support the idea that they must be demonic entities. And then you have a string of very credible eyewitnesses you speak with who tell you things that soundly support the idea of them being flesh and blood. And then you speak with so many eyewitnesses after that, credible eyewitnesses who report things that point soundly towards the idea that they must be aliens. So yeah, it's a rotunda. You just go round and round, being convinced it's one way at one moment, and then being convinced it's another way the next.
Right. That's. Ooh. Okay. About I wanted to talk about what is it called the I mentioned that earlier. I wanted to say the Wendigo. What do you think that is?
Wow, I really don't know anything about Wendigos. I mean, Wendigos are definitely supposed to be a supernatural entity. Basically, I think it's a demon that possesses a human, and that's where the whole Wendigo thing comes about. I don't really know anything about them. All I can do is just guess about what they are because so many people have varying opinions about Wendigos. What makes them a Wendigo? Where they come from? And all that. I don't know. I just don't know nearly enough to have an opinion about all that.
Wow. Okay. And that's the best thing to say is when you don't know something, you don't know it. You know, instead of trying to to get into it and build something up. And the whole time you don't know nothing about it. But some people want to, put it in their mind, like, yeah, man, I know what it is. I'm gonna just tell them that. You know, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna tell them that. And that's not even right. You don't know something, you don't know it. Just let it go. Let me see. See what we at. Another thing. How long you see yourself doing this?
Sorry, I had you muted.
That's okay. How long you see yourself doing this?
Oh, I like doing this so much. I plan to do this for as long as I can. Yeah, I don't plan on stopping unless something comes up where it forces my hand. This is what I just feel lucky to be able to do. So I don't plan on stopping.
I mean, man, I definitely believe you on that one. But it seems like when you find something, that you comfortable with, man, you just it does something to you. You know, and especially to find out, the truth about these creatures, because there's so much that we don't know about it. But here, some people, it seems like they know everything. They know everything in the world.
Oh,
They know everything in the world, and no matter what. Oh man, I'm telling you it's this. I'm telling you it's that, and that's the part that get me. If you don't know, man, you don't know. Simple as that. And then it don't make no sense because everybody not gonna know. Not gonna know everything.
oh, definitely. Yeah, there are no experts when it comes to dogmen. There are no experts when it comes to Sasquatch. No matter what people will tell you.
It definitely ain't. It definitely ain't. Definitely ain't no. It definitely ain't. It definitely ain't. That's definitely ain't. That's huh?
But if you have more questions, can we do a part two? I'm not feeling very good.
All right. Yeah. We probably can wrap it up anyway. You heard me, Vic?
Yeah, I do.
All
If
right,
there
we
were
can
more
go ahead and
questions that we support another
wrap it
show,
up.
I'd be more than happy to come back and do a part two. But
Yeah, we can wrap it up and and just have you come on again. But first and foremost, I like to thank you for coming on and and answering those questions. To the best of your knowledge and your ability, and sharing those encounters that you think might have been a Sasquatch. Um, as always, man, it's a blessing and I'm grateful. And anytime you need me back on, just let me know.
I appreciate it. That goes two ways. So please remember that.
Absolutely. So, with that, I'm gonna say thank you again and good night.
Hey, good night. Take care.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. Plus he was sick, y'all. So he was sick. He was sick, y'all. So